Another week and another Carolina Panthers loss. What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here, your host of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Our Carolina Panthers sure tried to put on a show today, and they did. For the first quarter, we looked like a football team. So my wife and family, we were out. My wife's birthday was yesterday, so we decided to go out. We had some family in town, go out to the pumpkin patch, corn maze, do all that fun stuff. And so I missed the first quarter. I went back and watched it, but I missed the first quarter live. And I'm sitting there checking my phone on the way back. We throw it on the radio. 14-0. And I said, hold on, who is this team? And what have we done? Because if you look coming into this, we were short on offense with some of the alternatives that we had there, with Chuba Hubbard getting the start. We already know we're not explosive at the wide receiver position. I'm not going to harp on that. And then just the changes on the offensive line. Ian Thomas being out, and you think, okay, we're really about to make this happen. And the wheels fell off, as you would expect, as good football teams do. They respond and they adapt. And I think we kind of, if you look at, the total breakdown of the game, I think there were a few key plays, just like last week, that really changed the trajectory of the entire game. It's frustrating because it did feel like it was going to be a win. I mean, it's 21-14 at the half. We had the missed field goal, so an opportunity to get 3 points. There were other opportunities in the first half that were momentum killers on our side. The fake punt call was just great. I don't really like it from that distance, but I mean, it comes down to inches and it's just short. Laviska steps out of bounds, right before he's able to cross over, and there's not a good angle. Call stands, and you're just like, man, we had the perfect, and at 0-5, that's the thing that you can do. You can make that happen. And I feel like we had to get out to this lead because we knew at some point Miami was going to figure it out. Shortly thereafter, we see the explosiveness of the Miami Dolphins coming to life. We also saw an opportunity. I don't know, it was like 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, or it really was 3 and 2, driving in, and we throw the ball. And the fourth down play ended up being the pass that was like way overthrown for Hurst. And I was like, oh man, I would much rather get Bryce on the move out of the pocket in that situation so he can run potentially, or just run the ball. I mean, you had the timeouts. It didn't make a lot of sense, but you miss those opportunities against very good football teams, and the Miami Dolphins, a very good football team. You're going to lose those games more than you're going to win those. We saw, defense giving up 42 points. I expected it. They covered the spread pretty easily, and I knew they would cover the spread pretty easily. But it did take them a little bit to, get things going. When we go back and look at the explosive plays, I was going to try to tell you here really quickly because I had a quick summary of that. So the Panthers had 3 plays of 20-plus yards, and that's really how you would measure or say that a play is explosive. We knew Miami has tons of weapons. They had 6 plays of 20-plus yards, but out of those 6, they had 3 that were 40-plus yards. You look at Mostert, the run by him. That one was like that was coming out of the change, like right after the change of possession. They get the ball, and I don't know if we were deflated or what, but they take off and break away. Tyreek Hill showing his speed. I listened to ESPN radio going to pick up Nolan this afternoon, and a Panthers fan called into ESPN radio. It's, national broadcast, and was like, I'm tired of hearing about the speed of the Miami Dolphins, and they couldn't do line up and do a 4x100, 4x4, whatever, 100 relay. And I'm like, hold on, man. Did you watch the same game that I watched? Like, yeah, they've got the speed and the explosiveness, but you had a 47-yard pass to Tyreek Hill that was not a touchdown, and then a 41-yard pass. I mean, he catches it, and you get him in motion. They're unstoppable. Their defense showed signs, as we were able to move the ball. We really didn't have that many struggles. It just happened later in the game when it turned into a passing. We got away from the run when we, it's just one of those things when you're down. They got the pressure and they got the sacks, and that ended up being a big difference. We saw Bryce getting eaten up all day. So we're 0-6. 0-6. Like, I don't know if there is any positive. I listened to Adam Thielen talk. I listened to Bryce. I listened to Frank after the game. Like, coming in or going into the bye this week, I don't know what positive you take, or if you just take all this, crumble it up, throw it out, and get ready for a stretch of games that should be winnable with Texans, Colts, and Bears. 3-6, one, if you do win 3 of those, and I'm not predicting that now, but if you win that, there's a good chance that the season itself gets back on track. Now, when we, coming into this week, I posted it out on Twitter, the overall win total. And at the beginning of the season, Vegas had us pegged at 7.5 is your number. Now, team rankings is got us around 4. And I could see 4, but it's hard for me to sit here and truly believe we could get to 4 wins when we can't even get a win. So these next 3 weeks are good. Well, you really say next 4 weeks because we have a bye. The next 4 weeks, the next month of football and non-football are going to be critical for this team to get out of whatever this is, because you look at across the league, we are the worst team, but it feels like that if we could notch 1 or 2 wins, we kind of get out of this murky whatever it is and just take the next step and focus on the future. And when we talk about focusing on the future, this past week, and I didn't get to talk about it when I recorded the pod because it came out a little bit later, but there were a lot of rumblings, or have been a lot of rumblings, that Jeremy Chin is available, Dante Jackson, Terrace Marshall Jr., possibly even Brian Burns. And are we going to go into like this fire sale, just getting rid of all these assets? And I don't want to beat a dead horse on this show because I've done it a few times. My take is, if we have Scott Fitter here still running the show, I don't want us doing that because he has proven he's not able to find talent through the draft. I'll leave it at that. But there was also the talks leading up to the Thursday night football game that we would maybe be in the market for a receiver. Really, Jerry Jeudy for the Denver Broncos, and then this whole little fiasco happens with Steve Smith, and you're like, and him just going back and forth, but really calling Jeudy an average receiver, and then people are like, oh man, this is not going to happen at all. I don't think it should happen, even if he, this little incident didn't. Like, we don't need a receiver. I mean, yeah, we do, but if you think about the state of this season, what is getting a receiver going to do? It's not going to improve that much. You need to sit down right now and start game planning for the future. What free agents are going to be available, what other players that may be available in a trade are going to be available in the off season, what not free agents, but also draft class. What is your draft class going to look like, and how do you want to build? Because that's where you need to start. It is a rebuild. It's not a retool. We're at a rebuild phase. If we think that we can get capital and make good decisions with the prospects that we bring in, I'm okay with giving up some of this. It's really hard to say. It is. And here's the unfortunate thing for Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is having a heck of a year. I saw some people out there who are mad that he's getting the ball as much as he is, and I'm like, he is the only productive player on the offensive side of the ball. Or I guess if you want to, hone it in a little bit, the only productive wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball that we have. Another 100-yard game, 10 plus receptions, a touchdown. He continues to deliver game after game. And I say it's unfortunate because it's like if he had someone else or if we had someone else to pair with him, I can only imagine what the offense would look like, because it's those small things where you now have to cover a true one and Adam Thielen in the slot, and then maybe some of these other guys that just haven't been it eventually pan out. Now, throughout the game, we saw Bryce miss, and people talked about it on the deep ball a little bit. That's to be expected. The chemistry kind of getting into a groove. I'm not making excuses for him by any means. I'm not. But I think these things will come as he matures through the process. And when you talk about, I know a lot of people like to do, stock up, stock down. Chuba Hubbard, 19 carries, 4.6 yards per carry, 88 yards, the one touchdown. His longest run was 19 yards. Blackshear even looking better than Miles Sanders, and he hasn't played a single game until today, with 5 carries for 18 yards, 3.6 average. Laviska Shenault, I believe during the broadcast they said had a high ankle sprain. I know they're just like, oh my gosh, really? Someone else is hurt on the staff. It's going to be next man up. That's how it's going to go for the rest of the year. When we compare the defense or look at the defensive performance, I mean, I do think some questions need to be had around the state of Ejiro Evero. I know coming into this that we did not have all the true fits that we needed to fit into the 3-4, because this is the first year and we're coming from the 4-3. But we look just terrible. I mean, we're not a good defense, and that has been an identity of the Panthers in the past. It's not anymore. We gave up 162 rushing yards, ended up giving up 3 rushing touchdowns. Passing, Tua he did what he had to do. 21 of 31, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns as well. So offensively, we know we had the 1 rushing touchdown, the 1 to Thielen, and then Troy Hill ended up getting his pick 6. Like, okay, here we go, taking it back. and that was a late score, but I think at that point it made it like a 14-point game, and I was like, Vegas is going to be watching this because of the point spread. I knew that Miami was eventually going to take and cover easily. But here we are now. There was a funny moment late in the game, and I think it was just tempers boiling up because, as a fan, it's very frustrating just to watch the other team who feels far superior than your team, and they're just laughing at every shot. I also can't stand the CBS broadcast. I can't remember the guy's name, but he gets excited about everything. And here they are going to tie their shoes. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. I can't listen to this that much. But it was late in the game. I don't remember the special teams play, but something happened. It was a punt. And then number 53 for the Dolphins comes up to Johnny Hecker, our punter. And Hecker, I guess they're just jabbing back and forth. Hecker pushes him. So that's the what starts it. They keep running their mouths. Hecker comes all the way up to him on the field and then headbutts him. But it was a very gentle headbutt. If you're watching, it was very like a tap. And then 53 flops and falls down, and they throw the flag. And it was just it was like, come on, man. It wasn't for Johnny. I'm fine with Johnny doing that. But then for the ref, come on, dude. It was just a flop. Super soccer flop, whatever it is. So that's really your analysis of this game. Now, I do think, and I firmly believe, that Bryce is getting better each week. Kind of talked about, I guess I didn't really go into the stat line. 23 of 30 of 8. We know he had to get into more of a passing approach late in the game, being down. He got sacked 4 times. That's going to kill you. You get sacked 4 times. When you think about getting sacked, he got almost 36 yards lost because of sacks. So when he's getting sacked, it's not like he's just getting sacked at the line of scrimmage or close to the line of scrimmage. He's getting sacked and you're losing 8 or 9 yards. So it's putting you way behind the sticks wherever you are in that situation. So I'd love for him to, and I don't really know how you overcome this, getting up in the pocket more, being able, and I know he's a smaller guy, but getting up in the pocket, trying to step up into some of that pressure, or just designing this offense in a way that he can get out of the pocket and move. Give him the ability to move with his feet, with rolling out on the run. I'd love to see a lot more of that, but at 0-6, there's not a lot that I can really say. Looking ahead, and I guess kudos to the Dolphins. The Dolphins did what they were supposed to do. They did have a slow start, like I said, but good football teams adapt. They make adjustments. They understand the situation. Again, trap game, looking ahead to Philadelphia, big game next week. Hone in, so what they did, get the job done and move on. And things took a little bit longer, but they did what they had to do. And they're now 5-1. So they're going to be a threat in the AFC. Now, like I said, we're moving into the bye week. For me personally, as we talk about Panthers, I was actually going to wait and record this, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it so I can give myself a little bit of a break, because I've been recording 2 episodes since the season started every week, as well as, leading up to the season, doing an episode a week. So it'll be good for me to have a nice little break. I do think I'll do some kind of, it's not really mid-season, but an episode to talk about where we are in the bye and what we've, kind of taken away to this point. Now, before I do this, before I kind of close out the episode, I wanted to make sure, or I was going to try to give you some of the reactions from the people. Here we go. So I went out on Twitter again. If you're on Twitter, follow me, and 2 Growls, 1 Roar. I asked people, give me your reactions either to the game or to us being 0-6 or anything. So Roll Coverage, and I have to give a shout out to Roll Coverage Pod. That's their handle. I've worked with him. We did a crossover episode. So he does his own pod. I do my own pod with the Saints at the beginning of the season. So we got to experience that together, and then we've been connected ever since, which is cool. He just said Fitterer has to go. That's his only takeaway. This man started a petition, y'all. So he's got a petition at change.org to get Scott Fitter fired. So if you want to go out and check it out, go out and look at it. The next person is Bryce Young. MVP season is their name. I'm sorry, dude. I don't think Bryce Young's having an MVP season this year. His username or @ is WXJargo, JARGO. He said Shy Tuttle made an impact today. 3 deflected passes, or roughly around three deflected passes, he said. And that's true. We have all these batted balls by everyone else, and Bryce Young's not getting batted. He's being able to take hits. So when we think about the positives of this offense, that is one of them. We saw him taking some deep shots downfield. Still a lot to learn. I think the hardest thing right now for our fan base is trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it's really just comparing ourselves to the Houston Texans, because they have CJ Stroud. They are seeing early success with Stroud, and it's resonating because guess what? They just beat the Saints. So Houston is 3-3. New Orleans is 3-3, and I should say Atlanta lost. As I'm recording this, let's see. I think the other NFC South games were also final. It's not like you can't just go out and look at this stuff anyways, but for me, as I'm recording it, let's see. Oh my gosh, where did it go? Oh yeah, the Detroit Lions took care of business against Tampa Bay. So all the NFC South teams lost today. It's another example of why so many people thought that we could win this division. But you have Houston that is showing success. They've got Jacksonville that's 4-2. They're 3-3. Indy's 3-3. And then you go to our division, and it's kind of similar. 3-2 for the Bucks, 3-3 Atlanta, 3-3 New Orleans, and Carolina's 0-6. Tough road. I don't know how you really come out of this with any forward momentum. It's in terms of like even mentioning the word playoff. So, all right. That's all I've got for this week, folks. Per usual, thank you to everyone that's watching. Thank you to the Dolphins fans if you're still here too, because Dolphins engaged with me on YouTube. And I enjoy it. I love talking to other fans, hearing what they say. They did the same thing as the Lions. Respectful. Hey, are you sure that we're going to win this game? And, just giving some encouragement, which is cool to see. I love the interaction with other people like that. So thank you. Follow me, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, 2Growls14. That's all I got. Thank y'all. Keep pounding.